Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of World End Economica, and this is apparently a building where Ringtech is housed. So says Barton. Barton, who speaks like this, despite not knowing what made him speak like before. He's speaking like this now, because this is a very impressive voice. And I've no idea how loud I'm speaking outside of these bloody headphones. Not too loud, just checked. Doesn't it look magnificent? There's 12 floors. That looks more than 12. Oh, it's 12 floors underground, 53 floors above ground. It took 1.5 billion moors to build. A spanking new building finished just last year. You can feel it trying to paint itself as a big player in the market, tired of being called an up-and-coming biotech firm. It was also convenient in being close to Luniversity, that's its new name, Luniversity, as well as the administrative sector. Now, he looked at me. There's a problem with architecture. Huh? I wonder how buildings have faults. Instead of a glass-lined building in a full dignity, a symbol of wealth and success. It was a top-class enterprise which had sales companies of 11.2 billion balls in its 12th year. Looking at reference data for investing firms didn't turn up any problems. It was a prime example of a stock with a constant growth as well. You should know Ringtech had its beginnings on Earth. It was located in Washington. And you know its selling point was freedom-filled corporate culture? Yeah. It's a venture set up by researchers started with a top brass at pharmacy giant Pfizer. Back in Washington, it was a company where management researchers were the closest. A freedom-filled research environment yields results. And they made big leap patenting landmark advances in genome and marketing technology and bio-related text kits. It landed a big one with gene therapy drugs when it came to a moon. In descriptions about a company, it always said it was CEO in a white lab coat. Company cars were the same regardless of whether or not you were a normal employee or CEO. The benefit packages were generous. There wasn't much classism. It's a wonderful place. The way Barton put it felt like there was something suspicious, different from what was being said by the company. I decided to ask. So, it's not true? Outward appearances still appear that way, but look at the top part of a building. Seeing his head against the car window, he looked up and pointed at it. I also peered at it with him. The top floors have a weird shape, don't they? Yeah, a cross shape. Yeah, a terribly awkward shape. Once management starts feeling like they had special rights, most of that time new buildings will start getting distorted like that. Don't tell me. I ended up blurting out a line inadvertently. Barton chuckled with satisfaction next to me. Having a design like that serves to increase the number of corner offices. It's because higher-ups don't like having offices wedged between others. Furthermore, on the second floor, in that section there's a place where it's just all one piece of glass. Oh yeah, I see that. Right, as a special employee cafeteria. Of course it officially doesn't exist. I looked at Barton dumbfounded. I had to ask him why. Why do you know it's not official? Just a point to pair of binoculars over there during the day, you didn't know. I guess that was true. But were there really people who do that? Of course there were. Here was one right here. When an enterprise which sells itself as a freedom into corporate culture ends up doing this, the end was probably near. They had originally been doing some bureaucratic style company, and people working there would have already gotten used to it. A lot of people had gathered here because they didn't like that bureaucratic type of stuff. They would really feel like disillusioned. Thus, these type of researchers would eventually leave in larger numbers, and perhaps even set up a new company. Therefore, things like buildings and giving evidence to the rise and fall of corporations do exist. So if companies continue to operate after large setting up shop in such a building, but getting bought out due to having worsened performance, perhaps the superstitions would think there was something with that building. However, the truth is different. Even if that building were to fetch a high price, there would be those enterprises trying to get in where management would still have lines of thought. A flag emblazoned with a company logo flew in front of a front foyer. People entering and exiting all appeared to be either hot shop businessmen or talented researchers. There wasn't even a hint that something was wrong. However, now being told what I was told, the shape of the building was surely unnatural. Furthermore, for there to exist a special employee cafeteria not known to the public, Had to be more lies and deception in the inner workings of a company. This type of talk would definitely not show up in my numbers. Once it actually showed up in numbers, it would already be too late. Grasping exclusive information is a strength. I patiently wait chances to short sell over people idiotically trying to buy into a stock. However, out of this information, I can only look at whether people are buying and selling and gathering information from other numbers. There once a lot of margin buying or short selling laid upon these stocks. You end up with situations where regardless of what goes up or down, there'll be a huge amount of change. If you misread it... He made a gesture as if he was slitting his throat. It's true that when you're trying to determine what to do based on market sentiment, in the long run, you end up with 50-50. Even then, you have to keep your eyes peeled for hints and make judgments based on them. I spend my days at work looking around at companies for patterns. Once I've found a pattern, I try to figure out why that pattern exists. Most of the time, it is reflected with the simple emotions of a people. However, this is work that most definitely cannot be done by a machine. He started my engine and pulled the car out slowly. And from my experience, there are those who could read the sentiment of the market and those who could easily see the patterns. Even looking at the same thing, sometimes you'll feel different or see something different, right? Isn't it something you can train yourself into? It's innate. I couldn't figure out what I should say while being praised. I could only look abashedly downwards, grunting from time to time. Well, what's left is work and finding the right connection to the people. Sometimes you'll see someone who just keeps going back no matter how many failures. The most famous one is that real estate tycoon, Daniel Trapp. Daniel Trapp, eh? Well, that's an interesting name. I wonder who that could be referring to. Trapp? Oh, you don't know? He's a man who owned a nickname, America's Mr. Resilience. At the age of 40, he had already declared bankruptcy 3 times, and every time the amount of losses increased. The third time was a $1.2 billion debt causing a company to founder. However, 4 years later, he bought a $900 million building in Manhattan, named it shamelessly Trapp Tower, made it a top-class commercial building. Why would such people exist? Was a genius with finance? Well, it certainly is that point. That guy's ridiculously smart. His memory is excellent. However, if he was really a financial genius, he wouldn't have gone bankrupt all those times. What he's a genius of is interpersonal relationships. Oh, please, God, no. This... If you don't know who Mr. Trapp is, then stop watching this video. You're not allowed to watch any further. But leave a like anyway, because... Or a dislike if you don't really want to, but... Yeah, Mr. Trapp with Trapp Tower in Manhattan. While talking, Barton pulled a car into a Lunar University campus. There wasn't a gatekeeper, and no one really paid attention and tried to stop the car. Perhaps class was in session, as there wasn't really many people walking around on campus. The car entered a narrow road and stopped some ways down. Barton got out of the car slowly and stood next to a sandwich shop on the side of the road. He didn't look over once at me, so I figured he wasn't beckoning for me to follow him out of the car. Furthermore, Barton was like a regular with shop staff, being friendly. He received sandwiches and paper bags. When he was paid, he paid using a $100 more bill. He didn't take any change. He patted his shop employee with his big hands, waved his hands, and left the shop. Wearing a huge smile as he had a fun conversation, he walked into a driver's seat, opened the door, and got in. Here's lunch. He handed me a paper bag, waved again at the store, and started driving. No matter how much a person earns, he can only take 3 meals a day. Yeah? Furthermore, there aren't many guys who try to get a different store each day. In other words, people generally have set places where they eat. It's very true of academics. If a professor in biology or chemistry or engineering stopped having sandwiches which could be eaten with one hand, there'd be a high chance he got headhunted by a company. If a professor had previously been eating beef sandwiches topped with tons of cheese so he started eating plain, there'd be a high possibility of getting wined and dined at night. The easiest way to tell through that is what cars they drive to work, though. Bit into a sandwich, holding it in one hand. In exchange for eating there, I can gather information like that. I've been with that employee for some time now. He also gets my nuance and remembers almost everyone who comes to campus to scout out potential recruits. As for looking into headhunting on campus, I feel confident that I had more power to gather information than professional journalists, since professional journalists can't afford to pay lunch with 100 more bills. Saying that, Barton winked mischievously. Daniel Trump was good at this. Ridiculously good. And therefore he gathers tons of information and exploits it. Of course, being able to sniff out whether information is legitimate and having the will to make decisions at opportune moments is also necessary. It's the same as a market. Gather as much information as possible, sniff out what's reliable, and bet on it either directly or indirectly. What do you think? Doesn't it float your boat more than stuff about volatility, sigma, or some such? So being asked that, I choked on an easy-to-follow piece of chicken. But he was right. I couldn't make heads or tails with Greek letters written down in Hagana's electric notebook. I didn't really have an interest in them either. Traders who surrendered into Quant's program would eventually leave the field because of psychological issues. Being able to tell whether or not a coin is heads or tails is a special privilege reserved for humans. Day one bequeaths that right to a machine is one day one stops being human. I had nightmares of my body turning into Greek letters. That really was what Barton was talking about. Open your eyes and see the world. Things most humans touch involve human thought in some way. The car stopped at a light. Barton, while still looking straight ahead, spoke. Would you like to do some real trading instead of playing with numbers? Well... When I was about to answer, the car started moving. Barton continued looking straight ahead, not saying a word. The side of his face strongly showed something that made me feel he was human. If decision was as a right reserved to humans, then I only had a special right to decide about Barton's proposal. However, I don't trust Quant, and I don't think it's in your best interest to do so either. He turned to the wheel and headed the car towards the suburbs. I think it's best if you two parted ways. He said it out straightforwardly. Part ways with Ghana? I tried to imagine the situation. I'll be liberated from a program and start as a member of a financial district. And furthermore, I'll be by Barton's side, someone who gleaned corporate information, impossible to obtain with numbers, and invested using that information. It was someone who looked deeply into classical trading methods, gathering information from a day-to-day work of people, using it as a hint to make decisions. It was something that a machine could definitely want to do. My beloved mafia films and war films were exactly like that. In these films there were principles one must follow, and practicalities that one must consider. Furthermore, there was this thing called experience. I had a feeling I was trying to look at people's true thoughts by looking at the movement of stocks. However, Barton gathered information from a much more fundamental source and made decisions based on it. It was, to put it bluntly, cool. It was a bit mundane, but it was the most down-to-earth investment method I could think of. Anyway, to determine the presence of that special employee cafeteria required the use of surveillance through binoculars. If that were futile, then I'd fed anything would be futile. My dream was to collect humanity's wealth and embark onto undiscovered territory. It definitely wasn't just to collect the nest eggs from people who are in poverty and help them to pay their back from their loans. However, I'd forgotten about my goals for such a long time now. And an obvious reason for being hesitant. It was Hagana. I was wondering about whether Hagana would be able to continue doing well if I were to leave. Her program was obviously working. However, if Barton's words were correct, then eventually it would stop working. And then, she and Lisa in the church would come across an impasse. I trusted that Lisa was an adult, but it felt like something was missing from her, and her ability to struggle on was weak. And that went without saying for Hagana. Furthermore, even if I was tormented by Hagana's program, I wasn't tormented by Hagana herself. Hagana had even started to worry about my health. She wasn't a bad person. In fact, perhaps she was too honest of a person. I obviously couldn't just throw away someone like Hagana like that. Could you give me some time? Took all my effort to just blurt that out. He was a rich magnate who had garnered respect at the Grand Central Hotel. Normally you wouldn't be able to talk to a kid like me. It was a fortune smiling upon me, an unbelievable amount of luck. However, I had no option but to say that. Of course. He had answered me immediately. The car eventually reached a 6th outer section. I got out of the car at this point, said my thanks for today. He didn't make this passionate farewell scene as like the last time, but at the end he smiled at me from the driver's seat. See ya. That way of parting was really awesome. I looked at Barton's car until it blended in with the other cars and started walking back. I understood the principles on which I operated. My goal was also clear as day. Therefore, I knew a solution to my problem. I trudged along to a church. Looked at the time, it was a little past 2. It was a time period where I'd be scolding from a police when I started loitering around. I wasn't really feeling in, but I had a big sigh, bounced from rooftop to rooftop until I made it back to the church. Therefore, it was by chance that I managed to see it. If I just walked away I was along the street, I would have made it back to a church. As I was about to jump down from a neighbour's rooftop onto a church's roof, I could sort of see the yard on the 3rd floor. Lisa would have been working at a Chinese restaurant and no one else would have been around. It had to be Hagana. Furthermore, since the napping set Lisa provided Hagana was also soft pure white cushions and blankets, the black cat Hagana really stood out. I discovered a sleeping Hagana when I lowered myself into a 3rd floor yard. That's adorable. She really took my suggestion to rest to heart, and was actually resting. So I just looked at this image again. Hagana is attractive. In a sort of cute cat sort of way, and that just backs up that setting. Even if it was obvious she was trying to copy all of my actions, I knew that she was dead serious in her own way of trying to adjust her values. Due to air circulation on the moon, and sometimes wind did blow, at that moment came a wind that suddenly caressed the scene. The lilies fluttered, the leaves on a big tree fluttered, and Hagana's bangs fluttered. When she was sleeping, she really was an ordinary girl. Furthermore, when I looked closer, she was hugging her terminal tightly when sleeping, a bit further away from her lay 2 cups. Perhaps Chris came over during the day and studied with her. Anyone, even if they were not Hagana, would want to protect this dreadful lifestyle. For example, by trying to help out frantically hard-working children like Chris. According to Barton, if someone used the same methods as once, these methods would get outdated and their performance would drop. In other words, if it was to call out off between us, then Hagana would eventually lose a way to earn money. Burying herself in cushions and grunting like a baby, occasionally she was sound asleep. A single person who came here because she was sold. She was swallowed up by the unfairness of the world. However, I had to chase my own dreams. For that, Barton was a stepping stone I definitely needed. Therefore, I decided I could only do this. I walked over to Hagana and looked down at her sleeping face. Hagana found a bit of a slight reduction in light, hitting her, and woke up. Once she noticed it was me, she rubbed her eyes and checked her skirt awkwardly. When we first met, she never cared about getting peeked on from below. What? She squinted at me and asked. And here's what I said. Let's get first an investment contest. Huh? Hagana replied. Wasn't the most important thing the debt anyone had? She looked like she was about to respond with that, but I was thinking something totally different. If she got the contest money, she'd be able to live her life freely until she could enter college. No matter how hard it is for them to live on her own, 200,000 more shouldn't be plenty. If her program could just make some money for a bit longer, then what should be prioritised was the investment contest, which is coming to a close soon. Real people's debts could be paid back slowly. Hagana's problem, her program would be able to hold out until then, right? And once that happened, we could part ways with Hagana and head over to Barton. What's the reason? Depending on the question. I replied, please. She got herself on the cushions and was stunned. The lunar wind blew and warmed slowly. Hagana's beautiful hair swayed in the wind. Is this something important to you? She asked very directly. Even if I'd lied and said it was, she wouldn't simply just accept it or not. That's probably the case. The reason she felt upon Lisa's church was probably because she had a mean face, doubted everything, and yet was unable to stand on her own. However, it was something important to me. There was no lie there. That's correct. She stared at me. Then she looked away, rubbing the hem of her skirt gently, and looked back up. I see. She stood up. Perhaps she was buried too deeply into cushions while sleeping, because as soon as she stood up, she had a very strong and distinctive scent. We really are far behind, Mr. Thrush. She pointed it out. Here was my reply. We'll just have to catch up with him. To my results, Agano appeared to have laughed lightly. Since trading the real market up until now led to a tridy profits that no one could complain about, there's only so much that could be earned from winning an investment contest from Hagana's point of view. We'll look at Hagana's point of view next episode. Well, as ever, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Fuds. Join me again next time for more trading on the open market and the investment contest. Bye bye.